The theater was alive in that peculiar way only old performance halls are. Wooden floors murmuring with every step, velvet curtains heavy with memories, and lights hanging above like silent witnesses. Rehearsals had stretched late into the night, the kind of night where exhaustion sharpened emotions instead of dulling them. The air smelled faintly of dust, sweat, and ambition. Xiao Zhan stood alone at center stage. The spotlight poured over him like liquid gold, outlining the quiet determination in his posture. His script lay forgotten on a nearby chair. He no longer needed the words. They lived inside him now. Every line he spoke echoed through the empty seats, filling the vast hall with something raw and honest. It wasn't just acting, it was confession disguised as performance. From the shadows beyond the stage, Wang Yibo stopped walking. He hadn't planned to watch. He was late, called in unexpectedly, helmet still hanging loosely from his fingers. But the moment his eyes found the figure bathed in light, his steps slowed, then stopped altogether. The noise backstage faded into nothing. All that remained was Xiao Zhan's voice, steady yet vulnerable, reaching places Wang Yibo hadn't known were open. For a long moment, Wang Yibo simply stood there, unseen. The director's voice finally cut through the silence. "Hold it. Let's take that again." Xiao Zhan lowered his gaze, breathing out slowly, a soft smile tugging at his lips as if he'd left part of himself in the words he'd just spoken. When he lifted his head again, his eyes drifted toward the wings, and met Wang Yibo's. It was brief, barely a heartbeat, but something shifted. The light didn't change, the stage didn't move, yet the air between them tightened as if the universe itself had leaned closer. Xiao Zhan blinked, surprised, and Wang Yibo instinctively stepped back into the shadows, as though he'd been caught reading someone else's diary. Neither of them knew it then, but fate had already crossed the stage lights. From that night on, rehearsals took on a different rhythm. They shared the stage more often, sometimes standing inches apart, sometimes circling each other in carefully choreographed movements. Every scene demanded trust, hands reaching out, eyes locking, voices overlapping. Xiao Zhan was expressive, emotional, letting every feeling spill freely. Wang Yibo was controlled, precise, his intensity burning beneath a calm surface. They were opposites, and yet, when the lights came on, something electric happened between them. Xiao Zhan noticed it first. He felt it in the way Wang Yibo's presence grounded him, in how his own heartbeat steadied when Wang Yibo stood nearby. He noticed how Wang Yibo always seemed to know where he was on stage, even without looking, as if some invisible thread connected them. During breaks, Xiao Zhan found himself searching for Wang Yibo in crowded rooms, comforted just by knowing he was there. Wang Yibo noticed it too, though he fought it harder. He told himself it was nothing, just chemistry, just professionalism. But his eyes betrayed him. They followed Xiao Zhan instinctively, drawn to the way he laughed with his whole body, the way he threw himself into every scene as if it might be his last. Wang Yibo admired discipline, control, structure. Xiao Zhan was emotion incarnate, and it unsettled him in ways he couldn't explain. Late-night rehearsals became their shared secret. When the rest of the cast left, they stayed behind, running scenes again and again under dimmed lights. The theater felt different at night. Quieter, more honest. Without the pressure of an audience, they experimented, took risks, let moments linger longer than written. One night, during a particularly intense scene, Xiao Zhan forgot his next line. Silence stretched. The lights hummed softly overhead. Xiao Zhan's chest rose and fell as he searched for the words that had suddenly vanished. Panic flickered in his eyes. Wang Yibo stepped closer. Not part of the script, not planned. He spoke softly, improvising a line that fit so perfectly it felt inevitable. His voice was low, steady, anchoring Xiao Zhan back into the moment. Xiao Zhan's eyes widened, then softened. He responded instinctively, emotion flooding back stronger than before. The director, watching from the back, whispered, "Don't stop." They didn't. When the scene ended, the silence that followed was deafening. Xiao Zhan laughed nervously, brushing a hand through his hair. That wasn't in the script. Wang Yibo shrugged, but there was something warm in his eyes. It felt right. From then on, they trusted each other without question. The stage lights became their sanctuary. Under their glow, walls fell away. Xiao Zhan found courage he hadn't known he possessed. Wang Yibo found freedom in vulnerability. Each performance felt less like acting and more like truth unfolding in real time. But reality waited beyond the curtain. Outside the theater, the world was sharp and watchful. Whispers followed them about chemistry, about closeness, about the way they looked at each other when they thought no one was watching. Xiao Zhan felt the weight of it, the unspoken rules pressing down on his chest. He smiled through interviews, answered questions carefully, kept his heart guarded. Wang Yibo grew quieter. He withdrew during breaks, spending more time alone, rehearsing movements long after everyone else had stopped. Xiao Zhan noticed the distance immediately. It hurt more than he expected. One evening, after a particularly charged performance, Xiao Zhan found Wang Yibo sitting alone in the darkened audience. "Why are you avoiding me?" Xiao Zhan asked softly. Wang Yibo didn't look up at first. When he did, the stage lights reflected in his eyes, turning them glassy. "Because it's easier," he said. "Because if I don't, I won't know how to stop." Xiao Zhan's breath caught. They sat there in silence, the vastness of the empty theater surrounding them. Finally Xiao Zhan spoke. "When I'm on stage with you, it feels like the world makes sense." Wang Yibo closed his eyes. "That's what scares me." Opening night arrived like a storm. The theater buzzed with anticipation. Every seat was filled, the air thick with excitement. Backstage, Xiao Zhan paced, nerves threatening to overwhelm him. Wang Yibo watched from across the room, then crossed the distance between them. He didn't say anything. He simply placed a hand on Xiao Zhan's shoulder. Firm, reassuring. Xiao Zhan looked up, surprised. Wang Yibo met his gaze, eyes steady. "No matter what happens out there," he said quietly, "I've got you." The lights dimmed. The curtain rose. From the first moment the performance was electric. The audience leaned forward, drawn into the world unfolding before them. Xiao Zhan and Wang Yibo moved together effortlessly, their connection undeniable. Every glance, every touch carried layers of meaning. It wasn't just a story they were telling, it was theirs. In the final scene, the stage lights softened, casting everything in a warm glow. Xiao Zhan delivered his last line with a trembling sincerity that left the room breathless. Wang Yibo responded, his voice breaking just enough to make it real. Long before applause, long before names were called together, it began in fragments. Glances stolen between cues, breaths held just a second too long, moments that felt accidental but were anything but. Fate didn't arrive loudly for Xiao Zhan and Wang Yibo. It crept in quietly, disguising itself as routine. Every rehearsal night started the same. The lights flickered on one by one, washing the stage in pale gold. Xiao Zhan would step into that glow with practiced calm, his heart racing beneath a composed smile. The stage had always been his refuge, a place where emotions were allowed to exist freely. Yet lately, something about standing there felt different. Heavier, warmer, almost expectant. Because somewhere in the shadows, Wang Yibo was always there. Sometimes leaning against a pillar, arms crossed. Sometimes sitting on the edge of the stage, helmet beside him, gaze unreadable. He never made a sound, never interrupted. He simply watched. And somehow, Xiao Zhan felt that attention like a physical touch, gentle but persistent. During one rehearsal, the director asked for the lights to be dimmed except for a single spotlight. "Let it feel lonely," the director said. "Like the world has narrowed down to one moment." Xiao Zhan stood alone beneath the light, surrounded by darkness. The emptiness pressed in on him, amplifying every heartbeat. As he began his lines, his voice trembled, not from fear but from something deeper. The words poured out raw and unfiltered, filling the silent theater. Unconsciously, His eyes drifted toward the wings. Wang Yibo was watching. Their eyes met, and suddenly the loneliness vanished. The light no longer felt isolating. It felt intimate, like a shared secret only the two of them understood. Xiao Zhan's voice grew steadier, stronger, as if anchored by that gaze. Later, during a break, Xiao Zhan found Wang Yibo standing near the exit, helmet in hand. "You always watch that scene," Xiao Zhan said lightly, trying to mask the curiosity in his voice. Wang Yibo glanced at him, lips tilting into a faint smile. "Because you're real in it." The words lingered between them, heavy with meaning. From then on, something shifted. Scenes that once felt technical now burned with emotion. When they stood together on stage, the air seemed charged, alive. Their movements synced effortlessly, as if rehearsed beyond the script. Even the crew noticed. "It's like they're connected," someone whispered backstage. "Like the lights follow them." Late one night, the theater emptied earlier than usual. Rain tapped softly against the roof, creating a rhythm that echoed through the hall. Xiao Zhan stayed behind, running lines under dim emergency lights. He didn't hear footsteps until Wang Yibo's reflection appeared beside him in the mirror. "You missed your cue," Wang Yibo said quietly. Xiao Zhan laughed, embarrassed. "I was distracted." "By what?" Xiao Zhan hesitated, then met Wang Yibo's eyes in the mirror. "By the feeling that something important is happening, and I don't know how to stop it." The silence that followed was thick, charged. Wang Yibo stepped closer, close enough that Xiao Zhan could feel his warmth, could hear his breath. "Maybe you're not supposed to stop it," Wang Yibo said. They stood like that for a long moment, neither touching, neither moving. The stage lights hummed softly above them, as if waiting. Another rehearsal brought a scene that demanded physical closeness. Hands were meant to brush, nothing more. But when it happened, when Wang Yibo's fingers grazed Xiao Zhan's wrist, electricity surged through them both. Xiao Zhan gasped quietly, and Wang Yibo's grip tightened instinctively, grounding him. The director called out, "Perfect. Don't change a thing." They didn't. But after the scene, Wang Yibo pulled away abruptly, jaw tight. Later that night, Xiao Zhan found him outside, rain soaking the pavement. "You ran," Xiao Zhan said softly. Wang Yibo looked up, rain dripping from his hair. "Because if I stay, I'll forget this is just a stage." Xiao Zhan stepped closer, rain soaking into his clothes, heart pounding. "What if the stage is where fate is honest?" The words slipped out before he could stop them. Wang Yibo stared at him, something raw breaking through his composure. For a moment, it felt like the world narrowed to just the two of them, rain and silence and unspoken truth. Then Wang Yibo looked away. "Fate doesn't care about consequences." Xiao Zhan smiled sadly. "Neither do the lights." Opening night loomed closer, and with it, the weight of everything unsaid. The stage lights grew brighter, the rehearsals more intense. Every performance felt like a confession. Every shared glance felt like a promise they hadn't dared to make aloud. When the curtain rose for the final rehearsal before opening night, the lights blazed brighter than ever. Xiao Zhan stepped into them, heart steady. Wang Yibo followed, their shadows overlapping on the floor. For the first time, neither of them looked away. Fate had crossed the stage lights long ago. Now it was daring them to follow. If you enjoyed this continuation and want to hear how their story unfolds under even brighter lights, don't forget to like this video, share it with fellow fans, comment your thoughts and theories below, and subscribe to the channel for more unforgettable stories. Your support keeps these stories alive, glowing star.